So when you think about yourself now, and you think about or start to imagine yourself in future, you could begin to imagine someone who's different in some ways from the person you are now. This is obviously true at a functional level. You could learn a new skill, learn a new language, you could develop a new habit. Those things are all obvious. How do we go about leading change in ourselves, enabling change in ourselves? We're going to offer 2 or 3 practices that we can work with to stimulate that process and to encourage you along the way. And in doing so, gain a stronger understanding of what change can look like from the point of view of others, which we'll come to when we talk about leading others. So, to start with, if you could wave a magic wand and change 3 things about yourself, what would you wish for? What would you change? If you could change anything about you so you'd be different, what would come up? Oh. Because of course, if you don't know, who else knows? Well, that's another story maybe. If you ask others what they'd like to change in you, they could give you some great feedback. So that's another way to address this, but you're the one here in this program right now. I'm asking you, if you could wave a magic wand and change 3 things about yourself, what comes to mind? And I'm hoping that some things are already coming up for you in an unprompted way. And that's great, because I'm then not biasing you so much. Some things change about you. What would they be? What would you love them to be? Would they be things about your personality? Are there some aspects of yourself that you don't appreciate so much? Are there some moments where you get a bit stressy, get a bit whatever? Are there some moments where you just, this is too much, too difficult, too hard? Are there some character traits that you've noticed in yourself that you're not so proud of? Well, there's a level of yourself to think about. There are some habits that you have externally that you'd like to shift. You'd like to be more focused, clearer, more imaginative, more inspirational, more in the moment, calmer. What would you change about yourself? Are there things you'd like to change about your environment? You'd like your place to be tidier, cooler, clearer. Are there some things you'd like to change in other people? We'll come to that a bit later. But staying with yourself for now, what would you like to be different? Would you like to have £1 million? Would you like to be happier more of the time? Would you like to be, I don't know, whatever it is? I want you to pause, give yourself some time to reflect. 3 things you'd love to be different in yourself, whether or not you regard them as remotely practical. Let 3 things come up. Give yourself some time and space now.
That's fine. Just be careful about moving too far back, because you're going to step out the light, okay? So
Thank you.
Okay. This light.
Yeah. I've also got that one I can touch. I touch with my elbow at least once.
Yeah, that's okay. I saw it, but it didn't flicker behind you.
Good.
Okay.
Good. What's happening next? Right. So, thinking about change, you've got some concepts of some ways you might like to change. And as soon as you do that, what happens for most of us is we kind of go, well, I'd like that, but it's a bit difficult, or I can't, or I don't know, or I'm not sure, or all of that. We kind of try to get into the how of change. And it is important to get to the how, but not at the beginning. I'd invite you instead to start with the why of change. So for each of those things, each of those ideas of how you could be different, I want to invite you to think about, well, let me ask you some questions. Why would you like to be different in that way? For each of those things. Of course, you can pause this voice anytime. Why would you like that to be different? What will it look like when you're there? Why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? Okay, you'll have it different. Why is that important to you? How will you feel when you have that? Suppose you say, want to master or learn a foreign language, whatever the example is. Okay, so you now imagine yourself talking in that language, connecting with people in that language, doing things and so on and so on. Why is that important to you? What difference will that make? How will you feel when you're there? Tune into that now. Get that feeling now when you have that. What will be different? Okay. So visualizing that, having a sense of it, feeling how that will be, is a step. Giving yourself permission, not ruling it out, feeling good about it, however that might be. You know, people who change substantial things in themselves start, or at some point get to the point where they go, you know what, I'll do this. I'll enable this to happen. I will make this shift. That's not a guarantee. There's work to be done, but it's a step. So holding that as one path in, just literally exploring what you'd like to be different, why, how that will, all that stuff in yourself, and noticing your resistance. Let's now go to a different tool and approach. Almost as simple. Well, as a leader who wants to lead and lead change, we're entitled to ask you, what's really important for you? If you've done some work with us on other programs, you might have done some work on your values. You might have done anyway. What are your values? What do you really believe in this life? What's your purpose as a leader, professionally, personally, in other contexts? And again, you might have done some work on that already. It might be great to refresh. You can pause my voice any time. What's your purpose? What are your values? What's really important to you? And now, given that purpose, what qualities do you need to develop in yourself to fulfill that purpose? So now you've got a compelling reason for change. If I don't discover how to stay calm, even when things are difficult, I'm not going to be the leader that I want to be and think I could be. If I'm not going to make time to practice sensing future possibilities, I'm unlikely to step towards becoming that visionary leader that I believe I could be and could make a difference to others by being, and so on and so on. So connecting with your sense of purpose can enable you to join up your change work with what's important to you and with where you're going. So leading change at the level of the self, getting a sense of what you'd like to be different, getting a sense of how that can connect with purpose. And now, of course, beginning to work into setting some new habits, working with a coach if you need to work with a coach, or friends or whatever. One of the hardest things to do to make a real shift, but we'll show you a way to make it much easier. One of the hardest things to do is to let go of the old habit, the old past reality, the old whatever it is. At some deep level, most of us seem to think, well, this is the way I am, or this is the way it is. And that's not true, in the sense of that's not true forever. This is the way it is present, past, future. It's just there. It may be the way it's been. It's not the way it can be in future. And the present is always this gateway between the past and the future. So letting go of the past, how do we do that? First, we have to accept that it has been true. Suppose that in the past I've had a tendency to worry. That's true for me in the past. I have to accept that. If I deny it, if I go, I don't worry, I'm not worrying at all, what you deny persists. So at some level, whether or not you share this to anyone else, you have to accept, I've been a worrier. I've been really good at worrying. Wow. I've learned how to worry incredibly well. Isn't that interesting? to accept it, to come to terms with it, and to begin to realize that that's not the only possibility. There have been moments in my life where I haven't worried at all. What are they like? Get some leverage by thinking, how will it be when I don't worry at all? I can spin the whole thing around and think, wow, I was really good at doing what people who worry do, which was to negatively hallucinate, to worry about things that haven't even happened. I could turn that the other way up and think positively about great things that could happen, amazing things that could happen. I could, in other words, visualize positively. So there are ways to shift from one state to another, recognizing the old, coming to terms with it, having a sense of the new, a feel for that and what that could look like, a willingness to let go on the one hand and to stride forward, then to catch yourself making some shifts. You want to make a shift from being someone who's only comfortable speaking with a small group, for example, just speaking with thousands of people. Well, you probably don't start by putting yourself up then in front of thousands of people. But you prepare yourself, you visualize and work about making a presentation to 10 people or 20 people, making a short one, fine. Catch yourself doing things right, as others have said, and then start moving forward. It's not overnight, but your journey of personal change has been happening, is happening, and will continue to happen. And the questions, therefore, for you are about, where do you want to shift? What do you want to work on? What are you willing to let go of? How are you willing to move forward? And then watch that happen and shift gradually and in a small way. And if your mind, if your inner chit-chat is going off, that won't happen, this won't work and all that, then that's where you have to work. That's where you have to work. I know change is possible. You know change is possible. It's time for you to enjoy the process of choosing the choices you want to make.